Today we're going to tackle one of the most common excuses that an ex will use to either break up with you or prevent another relationship with you from unfolding. And that is, they'll claim that their life is just too busy for a relationship right now. So really with this video, I'd like to answer two questions. Are they really too busy for a relationship? And what do you do if you want them to commit to you fully? So let's explore first if your ex is really too busy for a relationship. The truth is, it's kind of a difficult question to answer because technically they can be. But I'd say that most of the clients that we end up coaching have exes that make the busy excuse as a way to hold their clients over. The truth is, most exes aren't truthful about the real reasons they want to break up with you. And I fear that them saying they're too busy with work, family, school is a great way to get the pressure off of their backs. So it's kind of a great way of holding you over. They can say it, they can give you some slight hope so that you stop pestering them, and they get to look like the good guy. So one of the things that we really know about exes that we deal with is a lot of them tend to have or exhibit avoidant traits. And one of the things that's interesting about avoidance is that they're triggered to use many sabotaging or deactivating strategies as kind of like this anti-intimacy toolbox. So they have these ways of suppressing their desires, and one of the ways is to use the busy excuse. And we know from looking at our data that most of the people that we're coaching have exes that are avoidant. So having that ex suddenly say, "I'm too busy to date," is a really great coping mechanism to avoid the one thing they're afraid of more than anything else, which is a long-term commitment. And the reason I'm such a strong believer in this actually has more to do with the attachment psychology of an avoidant more than anything else. So avoidants by nature, they've learned to cope with difficulties on their own, and they value their own independence more than anything else, to the point where if you don't at least have the same type of independent level that they do, they almost view you as weak and beneath them. So whatever triggered the avoidant to say, "Look, I'm too busy for a relationship right now," was often perceived as a threat at their independence. Usually, it makes sense that when they use the busy excuse, they're making themselves busy with things that make them more independent. So this is like a really good litmus test to figure out if this is what's happening. What are they claiming is that they're busy with? Is it work? Is it school? Is it a specific project? Usually what I find is that avoidants who do this want to, and they'll be truthful about what's making them busy or what they claim to be making them busy. But that busy aspect will have something to do with making them more independent, making them more self-sufficient in some way. And it can be a little hard for our clients to hear this because they want nothing more than their exes, to love them, and they want to be their ex's everything. And it can seem like when their ex is doing this to them, they're their ex's nothing. But it's important to understand that there are 5 major stages that avoidance will go through after a breakup. All right, so I recently filmed a video with our very own coach Tyler where we discussed avoidance in depth and sort of this weird pogo stick approach that they have to dating. So first things first, there are 5 major stages that an avoidant will go through after a breakup. First, they're going to avoid all things about that person. This is oftentimes when they'll drop off from the face of the world. They'll stop texting you. They'll block you in some cases. That's all in stage 1. Stage 2 is feelings beginning to slowly bubble to the surface. Stage 3 is they don't like those feelings bubble to the surface, so they push those feelings down and suppress them. Stage 4 is after kind of pogo sticking between stage 2 and 3. Feelings begin to bubble, they push it down, they bubble again, they push it down again. They decide, okay, now it's time to move on. And then they move on. And then stage 5 happens. Sometimes years, sometimes 5, sometimes 10 years down the road, they begin to have this nostalgic reverie feeling for you. And the nostalgia kicks in as early as stage 2, but it kicks in really harshly during stage 5 because you have moved on by now. It's been 5 or 10 years. Life has moved on. You are the perfect scenario for them. You are a non-threatening, non-committal relationship that they can daydream about and want to revisit. Now, I want you to notice how there's a lot of hot and cold mixed in with sort of this hint of suppression when you're looking at these pogo stick stages. So theoretically, if you were to chart where an ex would say they are too busy, it would definitely be during stages 1, 3, and 4. And this is often why people post-breakup get confused due to the mixed signals that their ex is giving them. Immediately after the breakup, their ex is very closed off to them. So you try to approach them and they'll say they're too busy for a relationship. Yet a few months go by and those old feelings for you begin to bubble to the surface. When that happens, they start to open up to you, and all of a sudden, they don't seem so busy anymore, but it's a fleeting feeling. And ultimately, they retreat back into their shell when you get too close. Hot and cold, hot and cold, hot and cold. It goes on and on and on until finally, they're ready to be just done with you. And then finally, that fifth and final stage kicks in. They have nostalgia, and out of nowhere, it will seem, they want to revisit things again, and it can happen really fast. One of the things that Coach Tyler talked about in the interview we did is how sometimes his exes that you haven't talked to in years will just reach out to you and immediately want to grab dinner and immediately basically vomit their feelings out in a text message to you, how you're the one that got away. And this is that nostalgia stage comes. So basically, here's my argument. I'm of the belief that no one is too busy for a healthy, happy relationship. Your ex, using that argument in most cases, has more to do with their avoidant side being triggered more than anything else. I mean, I'm sure you can argue that there are some cases where people aren't ready for a happy, healthy relationship, but they would want one. That's what people do want deep down, even avoidants, because avoidants are often caught in this cycle, right? So one of the big issues that people listening to this or watching this on YouTube, they're going to say, well, what if my ex say they're too busy for me, but they end up dating someone new? And unfortunately, this happens, but what's interesting is they're caught in this specific cycle where they want someone to love them. They find someone, so they think their troubles are over. Then they notice some worrying things. They use that to sabotage the relationship. They leave the relationship. They're really happy that they left. They want to enjoy single life. Then they start to feel kind of lonely. Then they're wondering, why is this always happening to me? And again and again and again and around and around and around they go. And the funny thing is, this constant revolution where they repeat the same mistakes over again and again, they don't really learn anything. And for the record, that's the same mistakes with exes and new people. But I don't want to get too far off the beaten path here. So the ultimate question you're wondering now is, okay, we've argued that probably why your ex is saying they're too busy is their avoidant side gets triggered. So they're using that as an excuse so that they don't have to deal with constant pestering and anxious behaviors from you. So what do you do to get an ex like that to commit to you after they deny you and tell you they're too busy? I could sit here and tell you to do what I almost tell everyone to do, which is like, hey, engage in secure attachment gravity. Learn that concept. Breathe that concept. But that's not really what you want to hear. You want me to go deeper and talk about something that I've seen actually work that's actionable. So do yourself a favor and go to our website and look at our commitment graphic. Our commitment graphic is basically where we have this circle of 6 tenets revolving around commitment. And the 6 tenets are satisfaction, alternatives, investment, fear of loss, scarcity, and urgency. Technically speaking, those 6 tenets apply to all exes, to all people, to all relationships on why we make commitment decisions. We want to make sure that we're having a satisfying time with the person. We want to make sure that this is the best person for us and there's no better alternatives out there. We want to make sure that we're investing a lot of time, energy, and even monetary means. We want to make sure that if we leave this person out on the market, they're not going to get snatched up. Fear of loss. There's only one of a kind of you. What makes you unique as opposed to everyone else? That's scarcity. And then finally, urgency. What's an urgent reason for why they would want to commit to you? Technically speaking, those 6 tenets apply to avoidant exes, but there's a hidden 7th tenet that needs to be applied specifically with avoidant exes. And often when my clients come to me and ask, hey, what am I doing wrong with my ex? I'll tell them that they aren't giving their ex enough space. After all, when they pull back, what are you supposed to do? Well, you need to pull back as well. And it seems like such a foreign concept to many people because generally speaking in life, when you stop creating progress, negative things happen. When you stop pushing, when you stop improving, Nothing happens. So why would giving your ex space work? Well, I think the argument is like desire is often created within space. So if you give someone enough space, they have enough time to miss you, but that's kind of not the point. I had a client for the span of about 3 months a couple of years ago. She was desperate to get her ex back. So after I did sort of the initial analysis and tried to figure out like, okay, what is your ex's relationship history? What kind of attachment style do we think he is? I noticed he exhibited some severe attachment behaviors. So I gave her one simple job. Just give him space for a few weeks and then re-engage. The space was our no contact rule. In the meantime, what was she supposed to do with that space? Well, I had her work on those 6 tenets. Find a way that you can highlight the unique aspects of your personality. Create scarcity. Find a way to create a fear of loss aspect where you're going out on dates with other people. Try to find something that you care about more than your ex. Here's the problem. She agreed with everything I said, but didn't do what I suggested. She gave her ex space, but what she used her time on was simply planning her next step with how she was going to reach out to him. Now, this is flawed for a few reasons. Even if he wasn't seeing her obsessive behavior because she's giving him space, her frame of mind when she eventually would talk to him would reek of desperation. And big shocker, that's exactly what happened when she got back in touch with him after the no contact rule that I designed for her. She became overly desperate, and as a result, she just caused him to retreat further back into his shell like a turtle. So what's the lesson? It's not just about giving your ex space. Anyone can do that. Anyone can leave their ex alone. But what is important, and while you may not think this matters, it really does, is what you do during that space. Space alone can help create desire, but the goal when you give your ex space should always be to find a way to lessen your overall desire for them. Think of it like a negotiation in which you need leverage. Now, generally speaking, if you enter into any negotiation and you have no leverage, you are going to end up getting taken advantage of. Now, in this case, your leverage needs to be something that you found that you care about just as passionately, just as much as your ex. Lately, I've been hammering home the point that we all need to find our magnum opus. You're probably sick and tired of these videos I keep producing where I keep talking about that. Because what tends to happen is that your ex's preconceived notion of you changes. They find that there's this new side to you, and that's interesting, that's alluring. They allow themselves to slowly begin to open up to you. Now, it's not as easy as that. It's not as simple as the cause and effect. But the cause and effect is there if you try hard enough. Now let's talk about my client that I mentioned that it didn't do so well. She was just as obsessed as always about her ex when she talked to him again. And when I pointed out to her that her obsession was a dangerous thing and she needed to find something else to dedicate her time to, she wholeheartedly agreed with me and then opted not to do anything to further that goal. The result with her ex was poor. Now, as cliche as this may sound, the key to getting an ex back who's busy is literally to begin the process of moving on from them and being authentic about that process. And that's my challenge for you right now. Are you willing, honestly, to go to that level and be serious about it? If you aren't, you're probably not going to have a great result. It's the mentality that matters. That confidence that no matter what, you're going to be okay.